Are there laws like that for dog ownership?
There is. So dogs, in different parts of the county, it really is up to local city government. For Moscow, there are ordinances, you can only have 4 dogs. But cats, there's no ordinances about cats in the city either. So in the county, there aren't always different ordinances for the different outlying towns. Some of them have them and some of them don't. But dogs definitely have more protection under the law than cats do.
So at Syringa, well, it seems like the feral cat population was supported by the humans who live there, and now that the humans are gone, what happens? Are they more likely victims of predation, or what's
Well,
going on?
Unfortunately, there were people who were also breeding rabbits out there and let them go. So now there is a food source for all of the feral animals that are out there. So they have shelter, they have a food source, and there is no management to keeping them from reproducing. So until there's some kind of neuter release program going, they could just keep populating and populating.
And it seems like a really dangerous outcome of having that large of a cat colony would be if some sort of communicable disease takes hold there and they start spreading it to neighboring farmsteads, or, I mean, it's not that far from town.
No, it isn't, and we used to take in quite a few cats from that trailer court many, many years ago, and we would have to go under quarantine so often, and our vet bills were just piling up. We would have 5 cats come in, and it would jeopardize our entire population. And so under vet direction, we finally had to say, if they're from that area, we can't take them in unless they have a health certificate first, which that adds on fees for people bringing in a stray animal. So it's really an unfortunate situation. We reached out to management over 10 years ago saying, these are some of the illnesses we're having come in from your park, and these are some of the ways we can help. This is the way that we would like to help educate the people who live out there on the dangers of letting their indoor cat outside, and they were not very receptive to hearing our information. They thought it was going to scare everyone and asked us to quit having information out there available for the tenants.
So since Lee made that correction about Syringa, that was the motivation of my question too, just for clarification. It's on Robinson Park Road and Syringa. I presume that's what your answer was about as well?
Yes, was about Syringa.
Okay, rather than giving Robinson Mobile Park.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, okay.
No,
that's what I meant, Syringa.
Yeah, because it's on Robinson Park Road,
Yeah.
we do hear that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But usually if somebody brings up a mobile home park in the last couple of years about cats, I know exactly who they're talking about. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations that not doing anything isn't going to do anything, but it's getting enough community awareness of this is a problem, this is a health problem. We really need to be mindful of it and what it could lead to down the road with there isn't just one pocket in the county that has too many animals. So getting a game plan, how we can handle these things, how we can approach them, is something that we've been talking with the Lake County Sheriff and the commissioners about. How can we formalize some kind of a game plan for when these things crop up that we can take action? And the biggest hang up is property owners and funding and no ordinances or laws that support what we're trying to do.
So what kind of budget would you need to approach this Syringa project?
For Syringa, if there's 100 cats that need help, it would be anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. So I know it seems a little high, but spays and neuters cost money, the drugs to do it costs money, the testing that we would need to do for the diseases that are out there. Getting them spayed and neutered is one thing, but we don't want to keep spreading that illness. So we'd want to test them for several things as well. Then we'd have the vaccines, and it just kind of spirals from there.
Has there been any conversation with the vet school? I had a friend who graduated a few years from WSU, and she spent a summer in South Dakota on a reservation getting practical skills and doing work through a nonprofit organization and providing low-cost veterinary care for people living, I think it was on a Lone Pine reservation. And I just wonder if there's a way to turn this into an opportunity for vet students who most want more experience doing surgery, and as the kid of a vet, I always heard it was better to at least practice on an animal that nobody owns, because the last thing you wanna do is have your first animal death under anesthesia be some little girl's cat, and then you have to tell her, sorry, it didn't make it. And so, not to say these animals are disposable, but that it's a learning opportunity there to get to do a lot of hands-on work at a location that's right at home. You don't have to travel to do this
Yep.
work. And I just wonder if there's a relationship that could happen there.
Yeah, and WSU has definitely stepped up and said, if you can get the funding and the permissions to do so, we would like to help. Not just with what's happening at Seringa, but also with the Ojai campus cat problem.
So where is the funding, I mean, how do you go about getting the funding for that?
That is the biggest thing. So we've been applying for grants that would help with the TNR aspect of it. The hardship of that is that this is a nationwide problem. So there are so many organizations from everywhere who are applying for the same small amount of funding that there's available for spay and neuter programs. Many years ago, there was a group called Feral Cat Solutions, and this is one of the tasks that they took on, and there was a fee to bring cats in to have them spayed and neutered through their organization. Situations like this, there wouldn't be anyone who would be paying that fee to help provide the drugs and the tests necessary. So it would be a huge fundraising that would need to go underway so we could do this, but we would need permission first to be able to go get those cats and take them in through this program. And then it opens up the door to, so this, we get them spayed and neutered, but then who manages the colony? Who goes out there to keep watch for new incoming cats? It's kind of, I've heard rumors that people are starting to take animals out there now and leave them because of the problem. I don't know if that's necessarily happening or not, because there's nobody out there who's keeping track of the numbers. So once we go in once and do a TNR, we would need to have a group of people that would go out there and maintain and make sure we don't have newcomers coming in. It is, and it's one of those things that it's a horrible way to learn this kind of stuff, but it really does help us prepare for in the future when these things happen, how can we tackle this? I mean, we really would like to see momentum going on this, but it's hard because we also need a new shelter and a better facility for the animals we already have coming in. So we're in this crazy pickle of too many cats and not a big enough facility. If we had a bigger facility with more rooms that had a surgery room, it would be a great way, if we had permission, to go out and trap. Then we could have vet students come in and practice. We would have the space for it. We would have the drugs that they would need. But it's all going to take a lot of time, and a lot of patience to get there, and a lot of funding.
So most of our conversation and most of your business relates to dogs and cats, but I remember every year there'd be a list of a few curious animals
Yes.
on there. What are the interesting ones you've seen in the last couple of years?
I think the one that I think of the most is Myrtle the turtle. I went out one day to get something from the van, and there was a cake box that moved when I walked by it, and I thought, oh, somebody left a kitten. So I opened it, and it was a red-eared slider, and so I took her home and got her in tip-top shape. And then she went and spent the rest of her life in a third grade classroom. So Myrtle was one of my favorites. We do have stray hamsters, guinea pigs, and rats come in. A lot of people ask, well, how do you know if a rat's domestic or not? And we say, well, if it runs up to you and is friendly, it's probably domestic.
Or rabbit.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite rats was Pepsi, and he was found in a vending machine. Somebody went to get a Pepsi, and he just poked his head out and said hello. And so they picked him up and brought him to the shelter. And I can't remember, it was too long ago, who he ended up going with, but we see, oddly enough, a lot of stray domestic rats. I think maybe the mindset is, I can't care for this rat anymore, but rats are wild, so I can just let it go. But the domestic rats don't know how to forage, they don't know how to find their own food. They're used to it being handed to them. So same with the bunnies. We see a lot of domestic bunnies that people let go, assuming, well, there's cottontails around here, so a domestic bunny will be just fine outside. And that's just unfortunately not the case for that bunny. And so we do get quite a few stray bunnies come in, usually around the end of fair season. But right now, we have a bunny named, very creatively, Mr. Bun Bun. And he is amazing. We let him run around the office with us so that he gets out so he can stretch his legs a little bit. I'm a huge fan of bunnies. Their personalities are amazing. I just feel like they're just as interactive as a cat or a dog. So, and we have guinea pigs and ferrets. We've never had a hedgehog come in, which really surprises me, since how they're becoming a little bit more popular as an exotic pet. And anytime we have reptiles come in, we try to have the finders take them to WSU because we don't have the proper lighting or enclosures for reptiles.
We only have 0 minutes left, but I would love to hear an update on Stud and Muffin, who were there for many years.
Yes, so for those of you who don't know who Stud and Muffin are, these two came in about 5 years ago, and they came in with their mom, and the mom had 8 other puppies. A landlord went to check on their tenant and saw all these dogs, and so the tenants put the dogs in their rig and drove to the Humane Society from Julietta. Stud and Muffin had just not the best start in life. Puppies go through a series of fear phases, and if they're not in an environment that's kind of conducive to helping them learn how to deal with these fears, they kind of shut down, and it's really hard to get them socialized. So Stud and Muffin had been at the shelter for about 4 years, and when Sierra and I took over, we made a list. And on this list, we're like, okay, these cats that have been here for 8 years, let's figure out how we can help them find a home. And then our biggest on the list was Stud and Muffin. How can we help these two? This is not a life. Living in an inside kennel and only going out to their outside kennel, we couldn't get them to walk past the dumpster in the parking lot. We thought, okay, there is a way we can do this. We just have to brainstorm, we have to research. And so we were talking with the vets at Animal Clinic, and we decided maybe the issue is they have to be adopted together. Let's see if we can help them build the resilience to be apart. So we slowly started the process of helping them get accustomed to not being with each other all the time. And we had a volunteer who came in, and he was really interested in helping Stud, one of the pair. And so we were talking with Roy, and he decided that he would like to try to adopt Stud. And so we said, okay, these are some things to be mindful of. He can't leave our parking lot. He is so scared of the outside world. He is just kind of institutionalized at this point. So Roy and I made a list of, okay, these are the things that you're gonna have to help him get desensitized to. Stairs was on there. He had to teach him how to walk up the stairs to go to his apartment. And Muffin wasn't as reserved as Stud, so it was a little bit easier for her to meet new people. A really awesome family came in from Pullman, and they had a son who just fell in love with Muffin. And he took her over to the side garden, who was playing fetch with her, and they decided they wanted to give it a shot. So they adopted Muffin, and I think it was 2 weeks later, Roy decided Stud had learned enough off his checklist to try and overnight. And so Stud had this gigantic teddy bear. I don't know if you've ever seen our Christmas raffles, but we always have these big teddy bears that we raffle off. This wasn't one of those teddy bears, but it was just a huge teddy bear. So Roy took the teddy bear home, and Stud, after his first night, decided he was all of a sudden Mr. Confident, and he didn't need to come back to the shelter. Roy will bring Stud in usually once a month. Stud loves going to the dog park now. A dog that wouldn't leave his kennel has gone rafting. He has gone to a wedding. He was in the wedding. He was ring bearer. He was wearing a little bow tie, and Roy had a matching tie. It was the two dogs meet together in Pullman for play dates. And so it was one of those learning experiences for me and Sierra where we could say, okay, we know that we're gonna have bonded pairs come in. That's just a reality of shelters. What are we gonna do in the future so that those bonded pairs don't stay here for 4 years again? So now when we have a bonded pair come in, we start the process of, would you be able to be without your friend? And sometimes we're successful, and sometimes the separation is a little bit more difficult. But we have found that adopting 2 adult dogs is very daunting for a lot of people. That's a lot of responsibility to go into. they're also bonded with each other, so you really don't matter. So we were able to get them confident and separated, and then they were finally able to find homes. And they're both just thriving and doing great now.
Well, thank you, Tara, and thank you so much for being with us today.